So, welcome everyone to Tank Breakdown. So, we're just gonna jump right into it. So, in this tank, we have guppies. These started off as Endler guppy mixes, but they basically just went, well, I'd say they look more like Endlers. But this was these guys right here. What I was trying to get, they're real cool. And they are in a 10-gallon tank. Now this tank is way overstocked. There's like a whole school of these in there, which kind of look I was going for. But I do have the filtration to keep up with it, and I also do the water changes necessary to keep up with the maintenance of this tank. So I don't suggest for everyone to overstock, especially beginners. But I believe I had the experience to do it, and it again looks really nice. So guppies on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say they're like a 2 to take care of. Definitely a beginner fish. Super easy. They can be kept in like down to mid 60s, honestly. Can withstand any pH. Come in a wide variety of colors, but they're not a fish you get bored of either. So even an experienced hobbyist would still have fun owning guppies. You can use them as feeders or just as tank, how you see here, as the main attraction for a tank. They are live breeders, so they do breed like crazy. And if you want to keep the fry, because they will eat their own fry, definitely have something like this in the tank. It doesn't even have to be live. Just very bushy and thick for the fry to hide in. And also feeding the parents a lot helps keep them from eating the fry. And also for livestock in this tank, we have 4 bristlenose plecos. There's one in the back there. And for them, I always like to keep a piece of driftwood in a tank with any pleco, but I'm not going to get too much in the plecos today. We also have 2 beta splendas. Now, most of you should know by now you can never keep 2 males together in the same tank. But there is a female back here, and I've personally had success with keeping the 2 together, especially in a tank like this where there's lots of ditherfish, so the male's not constantly harassing her, and it's planted so they have places to hide and get away. There's like little caves built into this, actually, because there's Cory catfish in here hiding as well. So it may not look like it, but there are hiding spots in this tank. So yeah, beta splendas. Betas do come in different species. This is the most mainstream one. Again, I would say it's a beginner's fish, but they need to be heated. Definitely tropical fish betas. And they have a, I believe it's called a Lorthax, something on that line, that allows them to breathe from the surface. So if you have bad aeration in your tank, they can survive pretty well. It doesn't mean you should keep them in bad conditions, but they can survive it. So for care, would definitely put a beta fish as a 2 as well. The only thing is with their fins, they tend to get pretty messed up easily, and they can't be kept with fish that will pick at them. So choosing the stock could be a little more difficult. But other than that, a pretty bulletproof fish. Oh, and I do not suggest keeping betas at anything less than 2.5 gallons. But that one is highly up for debate with many people, but I'm just going to leave it at that. That's where I like to keep them. Oh, some people actually do keep the females in schools, like a well-planted tank, and you can keep several females in a tank. But I just have the male and female in here. I'm not trying to breed them in here. Breeding could be like a whole video in itself, breeding betas, but they just both need the tank, so they went in here, hiding spots for each of them, and they get along pretty well because he's not too much of an aggressive beta. So yeah, now getting into the plants in this tank. Right behind this rock here we have some spiky moss, is what it was sold as, and it's doing pretty good in this tank. I dose daily, and I believe with all the fish in here, it gets a good amount of CO2. but I microdose and it gets about 5 hours of light a day. And as you can see, it's kind of under the mat, but I would definitely consider this. It does like moderate to highlight this plant. In the back here we have Anubias, I believe coffee, I'm not 100% sure. I've had this plant for a very long time now, and I kind of just lost the name, as well as this one up here. Lost the name of that one too. But with most Anubias, it's a low light plant, low demand. It's doing pretty well. I did cut a lot of it back because it was getting blackbeard algae on it, but it's doing pretty good in this tank. I do have 2 pieces of Java fern Java fern in this tank. Java fern is super easy to grow. It's a bulletproof plant, and I definitely suggest it for beginners. It's a slow grower, so it will get algae on it. I suggest microdosing for that, which is dosing small amounts daily, so the plants are getting more nutrients and not allowing algae to grow as bad. But these plants, along with the Anubias in the back, are super easy to grow. You could attach them to rock like this one is here, and they will grow. You can tie them to driftwood or into the substrate, as long as you don't cover the ribosome, which is where that stem, where all the leaves are coming out of. As long as you don't cover that, you should be fine and be able to keep the plant alive. Here's a better idea of what I'm talking about with the ribosome. It's where the leaves are coming out of. This is Anubias nana petite, and again, another bulletproof plant. See it's starting to get some algae on here, but this one I just stuck between the lava or the dragonstone, and it's doing really well. And yeah, so this tall plant in the back is waterweed. Oh, and Anubias nanus is a low light plant. Now this plant, I do suggest it for beginners. It's super easy to grow. It likes moderate light too, moderate to high, but do use with precaution. I would not suggest putting in an outdoor plant or outdoor pond, and if you do throw it away, try to dry it out first, because this is in some areas an invasive species. So with most, you want to use precaution. Well, with anything really, you want to use precaution, but especially with this plant. But yes, this is Brazilian waterweed, and I kind of like the look of it. I mean, I guess it depends, but as a nice background plant, it grows tall, it grows crazy, and it's a fast growing plant. And that's all I have to say. I haven't been keeping it that long, so out of my experience though, I definitely like the look. I like that it grows quick, and I like it as a background plant. I believe if you probably kept a bunch of this clumped together, it would probably make a great breeding mat. It's for fry to hiding, maybe even to breed rainbows in. You got a bunch of these in the back. Okay, so this tank is scaped with, as I said earlier, dragonstone. It's actually got a few. This is actually a few pieces. Like I said, I made kind of like a cave structure for the cories in here, and it just has black substrate, black sand. This wasn't supposed to be in here, but you know what? Kind of looks nice. It's kind of buried itself, and doesn't look too bad in this tank, surprisingly. This is probably my favorite piece. It's like a triangle, and I just set it up in the back. So as for equipment on this tank, I have an Aqueon here, nothing fancy. For lighting, we have a Night Crew LED. You can get these on Amazon for super cheap. Like, these are a super cheap light, but they are pretty effective. I do definitely consider them moderate lighting and good enough for most plants that you'd want to grow. Now this is a lot of self-any up here too. It's a floating plant. It's super good. This is that plant. Like I said, I don't remember the name because I've had this plant for so long, but it likes moderate light, likes a lot of fruit, and it'll do a great job at hiding fry. And then for filtration, we have fluval canister filter. Now I know it seems like a lot for a 10-gallon, kind of overkill, but again, this is a highly stocked tank. It has 2 cories, two beta fish, and a bunch of guppies in here. It's also a planet tank, but this does a great job at keeping this tank clean. And yeah, I like the, so far this is my first canister actually, and I really recommend it. Do enjoy the canister filter. But that's pretty much it for this tank. This is just a 10-gallon tropical tank. And yeah, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask in the comments. If you guys can't, well, keep an eye out